Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be sharing 5 driving tips that are going to help you pass your driving test. You might be watching this video or you might be going through the internet to see if there's any secret or any shortcut to passing your driving test. Well, I've been teaching as a driving instructor for 15 years and I've taught many people to drive and pass the driving test. And one thing I can tell you, there is no shortcut or secret to passing your driving test. It's going to take work. So if you're looking for some genuine tips, then stick around. So tip number 1 is plan ahead. It's very important that you plan ahead on what you're going to do. So if the driving instructor or your driving examiner on your test tells you to do something, for example, tells you to turn right or left, think about what mirrors you need to check, what lane you need to be in, what speed you need to be at, what gear you need to be at. Make sure you plan all this in your head first before you carry out the exercise. The examiner will give you enough time to do what they've asked you to do, so don't rush. So yeah, that's tip number 1, is plan ahead. Tip number 2. So, let's say you're on your driving test and you've made a mistake and you think, oh, that's it, it's over now. What's the point in carrying on? Don't think that, because chances are that mistake may not be a serious fault. And what happens, I've had a lot of pupils like this, that what they'll do, they'll think about that mistake and then they'll make loads of other mistakes. And usually the mistake that they're thinking about was a minor mistake and it'll lead to something serious. So once you've made a fault, carry on with the rest of your test. And even if you know it's a serious fault, don't think, oh, that's it, there's no point carrying on. You've paid for your driving lesson and your driving test, so you might as well just carry on. And then at the end, you'll see if you've passed or failed. And even if you have failed, then you've genuinely failed on a fault that you need to work on, rather than faults that have just accumulated because you've just gave up. So yes, don't give up and don't keep thinking about the fault that you've made. Carry on with your test. Tip number 3, don't keep looking over at the driving examiner's marking tablet. Yes, if you keep looking over at their tablet or their iPad or whatever they're marking you on, the chances are this is going to take your concentration off the road. And plus, if they have marked something down, there's nothing you can do about it. Just carry on with the rest of your driving. And driving examiners don't always mark the fault immediately as soon as you've made it. It might not even be a fault that they're marking. So you're just going to make yourself more panicky or worried, thinking that they're marking things down that you've not done. So concentrate on the road ahead, and then the examiner will tell you what they need to tell you at the end of the test. So yes, don't look down at the driving examiner's tablet while driving on your driving test. Tip number 4, don't rush to book your driving test. Listen to your instructor to let them tell you when you're ready for your driving test. They know what's needed to pass the driving test, and plus, more importantly, they know what stage you're at with your driving. So they're going to help you tailor that advice to suit your needs. If you think you can just book your driving test and just kind of pass it by chance, that's not the case. You need skill, and that's going to take work. So when your driving instructor says you're ready for your test or you need some work on it, take that advice on board, because that will help and increase your chances of passing your driving test. Tip number 5, try to do a mock test before your practical driving test. I always try to do a mock test with my pupils before I take them for a driving test. Not only does this help them identify the faults that they've made and what they need to work on, it also prepares them for the driving test, knowing what to expect at the driving test. So make sure when you do the mock test to do it in advance, so you're not leaving it to the last minute. So if you have done a mock test and you've then made faults, you've got enough time to work on them faults before your actual practical test. you may need to do a second mock test just to see that you've got rid of the faults. So there you go, that's 5 driving tips. Because you've come so far in the video, I'm going to give you a bonus tip. So tip number 6. So tip number 6 is don't tell everybody you have a driving test. Now what I mean by this is, so for example, if you're on social media, you don't necessarily need to put it all over social media, oh, I've got a driving test coming up, because this is just going to add to the pressure. Because while you're on your driving test, you're going to be thinking, oh, I need to tell so-and-so I've passed, or I need to tell so-and-so I've failed if you failed. And this is just going to add to the pressure. Obviously, you might need to tell your employer that you might need to take the day off for your driving test, or a family member, that's fine. But usually I've found with my pupils, the less people that they tell, the less pressure they have, and the more chances they're going to increase they're passing their driving test. And then afterwards, once you've passed, you cannot put it on your social media, I've passed my driving test, hooray. But if you can, avoid telling too many people before, especially if you're not confident and you're a nervous person. It's just going to add to your nerves. So yeah, try not to advertise everywhere that you've got a driving test. Advertise it afterwards, once you've passed. Well, that's the end of that video. I hope you found it helpful. That's my 6 tips to help you pass your driving test. Actually, I have one more tip, and that tip is to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you already haven't done so. That will help the YouTube algorithm share it to more people that may find this video helpful. You take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.